When Ghost of Tsushima initially launched, I almost didn't even play it due to a wave of decent but not amazing reviews. A significant trend among them described Ghost as derivative or said it fails to contribute anything new to the open world genre. I am so glad I ended up still purchasing this game because I disagree entirely and it ended up being one of my favorite games. Based on the absurdly high Metacritic user score, I don't think I'm alone here. So I'd like to try and actually capture so many of the things that Ghost does well. Some of these items are things unique to Ghost, and yes, others are simply refinements of existing open-world concepts, but they demonstrate how much value, refinement, beauty, and a few innovative touches can offer. Ghost is the first open-world game I've played since Breath of the Wild that feels fun and meaningful rather than just bloated and tedious. To keep this interesting, let's explore 10 focused reasons why that is. I want to start with a small but hugely impressive feature of Ghost, which is fast travel. Yes, this really does deserve its own spot on the list. The fast travel system in this game is, well, fast. Really fast. I have never seen a console game that loads fast travel this quickly. In my own testing, Ghost would reliably load fast travel locations in 5 to 8 seconds, which is just crazy for the ancient PS4 hard drive, especially for a game that looks this good. Ghost loads way faster than most open world games out there, and I would even go as far to say it loads faster than most non-open world games. The first time this happened, I was blown away. The next-gen consoles are promising ultra-fast load times for future games, but somehow Sucker Punch already made this happen. For the second feature, Ghost has one amazing horse. Not only is this horse amazing, but you can summon it instantly from anywhere. This feature makes absolutely no sense in real-world practical terms, but that really just doesn't matter. The game is so much better for it. Ghost is not the first open-world game to implement this, but so many games refuse to give players this simple feature, even though it makes exploration so much more fun and accessible. The horse also plays a meaningful role in the story, and having it constantly at your side and listening to Jin quietly speak to it sometimes really helps it grow into a character of its own. Ghost also utilizes some of the best controls for a horse I have ever seen in a game. Riding around is an absolute joy for a few reasons. For one, the horse can turn quickly without looking ridiculous due to some great animations. Second, the horse can intelligently leap over most fences, random objects, small ledges, water, etc. This is not one of those games where your horse gets stuck on anything and everything. Your horse also never gets tired, and you don't have to awkwardly button mash to make it go fast, unlike a couple of other great games where this can be colossally annoying. Finally, the horse just feels firmly grounded to the landscape. This might sound odd, but so many games do a terrible job of this. Horses often feel like awkward game models just sort of gliding over the terrain. I would imagine it's very difficult to get this right, and Ghost does it better than most. For number 3, I really loved the flexible world traversal of this game. Ghost successfully blends realism with video game practicality. For example, in villages and settlements, Jin can climb basically any buildings, crates, or structures you would expect him to. Out in the wild, he can climb ledges and rocks well enough to prevent huge annoyances, but also can't just cartoonishly climb up a flat surface. The game provides plenty of grab points and rocky paths along the walls to help out with world traversal. Although sometimes these climbing scenarios are a bit on the awkward side, for the most part they provide a good blend between world design and Jim's available movesets. It also allows the world to be somewhat vertical and interesting. Number 4 is the combat system, which probably deserves an entire video of its own. The most unique aspect of combat in Ghost is the stance system, which is something I hope other games try to implement in their own way. Essentially, as a samurai, you learn new stances, such as wind and water, which are each variations of the core sword system with their own combos and strengths. These stances are used to improve your effectiveness against different types of enemies, such as those with shields or spears. You can change between these stances on the fly right during combat. Stances also have their own separate mini skill trees, so you can choose which ones to prioritize and customize them a little bit to your liking. I love that the combat system isn't just completely based on your current level, stats, experience grinding, etc. Because it is to a large extent skill-based, I felt like I almost always had a fighting chance. Another big part of what makes the combat so great is the resolve system. Resolve is a type of energy that allows you to perform more powerful or special moves. You can gain resolve back by killing enemies and other combat achievements, and then use that resolve to heal or perform another special attack, and this creates an endlessly satisfying and somewhat addictive loop. Ghost also has a really interesting duel system, which fits the samurai concept really well and almost turns the game into sort of a traditional fighting game. This mechanic locks you into an arena with one other opponent who generally has far more sophisticated fighting patterns than common enemies you'll encounter. I could go on and on about the combat. Ghost also has more traditional elements like skill trees, gear upgrades, and special moves to throw into the mix, which aren't really anything innovative, but they are a fun addition to the core systems. Now number 5 is a bit of an abstract one, but Ghost just does a great job in general streamlining a lot of normally tedious aspects of open world games. For example, I actually really liked the map of this game. As you continue to fill in the map, it shows you little question marks of undiscovered secrets that disappear as you complete everything there is to do in an area. Open world games often have a billion things to do, yet are strangely stingy with telling you where there are secrets left or where you should explore. Ghost simply tells you generally where to go, but doesn't tell you exactly what you'll find there or how to reach specific spots. By now you've probably also seen the guiding wind, which allows the wind to guide you to specific destinations you've set or that the story sets for you. You can also configure the guiding wind to send you towards certain types of landmarks, such as hot springs, to increase your health. The guiding wind also eliminates the need for most of the heads-up display, which results in a very clean interface. As you're riding, you can easily gather resources by just pressing R2. You can actually run straight through tiny trees or bushes, which might sound silly, but it actually just removes endless headaches of your horse getting stuck on random objects. Ghost also attempts to streamline many inventory and upgrade mechanics to varying degrees of success, which you can learn more about in depth in one of my other videos. For number 6, I really enjoyed the blend of real and mythic in this game. Ghost successfully accomplishes this on multiple levels. Feudal Japan is beautifully represented here, and the Mongol invasion provides a sense of realism and gravity. The world feels part historical and part fantasy in the best way possible. The samurai theme provides all kinds of historically rich context and culture. At the same time, this is obviously not a literal interpretation of history. There are mythic quests that dabble in the spiritual and supernatural, and abilities that are not quite realistic, but also not high fantasy either. Moves like the Heavenly Strike add interesting layers to the combat without breaking the grounded realism of the game. For number 7, we have meaningful gear. Now, if you watched my other video on the gear upgrade system, you might be surprised to see this on the list. However, I really liked the general idea that Ghost only has several pieces of armor and weapons and gives you options to upgrade them. I personally am not a fan of games that just endlessly throw upgrade items or weapons at you in an almost disposable way, unless it's more of a hardcore RPG with an extensive equipment system. Each set of gear in this game has a bit of story or legacy to go along with it. Each is designed with rich detail and with a specific purpose. And even though the stats behind upgrading these items are a little unusual, I like the general goal here to have fewer, more meaningful pieces. There are also a lot of appearance-driven items, which can go a long way to making Jin look just like the type of samurai you want him to be. For number 8, we have to talk about the story of this game. This is one of my favorite stories of this generation and is much, much better than I initially assumed it would be. For some reason, the marketing materials of this game just didn't connect with me all that much, or the story didn't seem to be a huge focus. Well, that all changed very quickly. Ghost of Tsushima tells a surprisingly moving tale by the end, even if the first third of the game runs a bit too slow. Character motivations and relationships are generally well thought out and have some depth to them, and there is some real weight to some of the later scenes and final acts. The use of flashbacks and other techniques to add depth is very welcome, and there is great voice acting and motion capture throughout. Some have said that Jin is a bit dull, but I am personally a big fan of a more subdued hero after some of Sony's more over-the-top figures. I also want to mention that for the most part, I really enjoyed the side quest setup of this game. Part of the narrative revolves around assembling a team of allies to accomplish various tasks against the Mongols and the Khan. You can take a streamlined approach to this and just plow through the main story, or you can complete a series of side quests for each character to learn more about them and their motives. These quests are broken into multiple, easily digestible parts that are playable at any point in the main story, and for the most part, it all lines up in a cohesive way. Now, of course, there are also more than a few disposable, repetitive side quests that involve analyzing a seemingly infinite number of muddy footprints, but the core trajectory of this game is second to none. For number 9, let's talk about the camera mode. Now, as a full disclaimer, I am generally not a camera mode person. I don't really get it. I've never been the type of gamer to take a picture and post it to Instagram or wherever, but with this game, it was just different. I found myself using camera mode all the time, and for a variety of reasons. Maybe I just wanted to pull the camera back and look at the beautiful environments with a wider view. Maybe I want to see what the same scene looks like at nighttime or with different weather and particles. I found myself arranging and saving photos really often and even sharing them with other people, which is something I almost never do in general. You can even use the camera in battles to get a better sense of the enemies around you. The camera mode has so many options it can be overwhelming at first, but it's definitely worth taking the time to tinker with. It really is picture perfect. Finally, for number 10, and I've saved my personal favorite for last, I just have to talk about the graphics. Ghost of Tsushima looks absolutely stunning. I had the privilege to play this on a PS4 Pro on a very high-end TV, and this game has the best looking environments I have ever seen in a console game. This world simply feels alive. The way the grass and the trees and the leaves sway and move in the guiding wind. The way your horse seamlessly gallops across the rich terrain. The way your armor and clothing flaps or jostles as you run. The animation blending or the gorgeously rendered cutscenes. I was simply blown away. Many of the cutscenes, particularly those important to the story, are beautifully rendered in near cinema quality, even if your average side quest isn't quite up to that level. The fact that Ghost is completely open world with a full day and night cycle only makes these achievements even more impressive. This game is an excellent example of how graphics don't necessarily make a game, but they can certainly elevate a strong vision to new heights. The love and care of this game even extends to the menus, which feature rich artistic elements, drawings, item renderings, and much more. So in closing, although many say Ghost is derivative, I honestly can't imagine a better swan song for the PS4. In so many ways, Ghost represents everything that defined the PS4 generation. Expansive worlds with compelling cinematic narratives and amazing visuals. On top of that, it still manages to offer a handful of minor innovations that elevate the overall gaming experience to something unique. Do you agree with this list? What would you have added or removed? Leave a comment and please hit subscribe if you want to stay involved with this type of content.